super proud of the guys, the win here at home on Saturday. Um, it was good to be in a position to kind of play with a lead and see how our guys would respond. It's been hard to come by all year. Only the second game, I think, all year we've been favored, and was proud that our guys handled things the right way. It took us a little bit of time to get on track early, but once we did, we're able to get some plays from all three phases and create a little space between us and Nevada. And I don't know. I just don't take that for granted by any means. We're still growing a lot. A lot of guys playing, really their first snaps and growing up each week. And so to be put in a position where you are favored to win and know that I feel like and still feel that way that Nevada's better than their record indicates to go in and do the things you need to get a win and get one pretty handily is something I don't take for granted at this point. Love the fact that we got a big man touchdown. Good to see Turbo get in the end zone. Got some big plays, special teams wise. Offense and defense both made plays where we need to. Biggest concern was the penalties. Don't want to overreact too much, considering that we both had a lot and there were a lot of flags thrown inside the box. Just seemed to be one of those games. Watch it on tape. Some of them were legitimate. A handful of them were probably pretty quick, flags. So I think that's one of those things that kind of comes week by week with the personality of the crew, and that particular crew was calling the box really, really tight. Like to avoid those. I think we would have had a much bigger day had we been able to stay away from some of those, and definitely something we want to continue to work on. But the challenge gets much more difficult this week. Boise comes to town, senior night, last home game of the year, trying to fight to get to number 6. We lost 7 in a row to these guys, and if I think I'm right, 19 out of the last 20. I mean, this is a huge game for us. It will really, I think, tell us a lot about who we are. I know their season has not gone the way they wanted. They've got a coaching change in the mix, but Coach Avalos was not going to play on Saturday. And those guys that do go out are skilled, physical, and talented, and it's a huge test for us to see where we're at. Yeah, and this will be a huge one to get for all the reasons I just mentioned. So what questions do you have?
Andrew Hyde, KSL.com. Just starting right there with Andy Avalos getting fired. What was your reaction when you found out about that? And I mean, was that a surprise to you? And how if anything, are you going to prepare differently this week?
Won't prepare any differently. Both coordinators still intact that are running both the offense and the defense, and don't feel like that will affect anything. Those guys will probably prepare the same way physically. The same guys are going to play, and as we know, they're super talented. They've played some difficult opponents. They've been close in some of those games. Their record could be way different than it is. You take a last-second Hail Mary and a bounce ball here or there, these guys would be right in the mix as always. So I don't think any of that has to do with the game. If anything, it might excite the group in the locker room. You never know what kind of response they have to what's going on. Just assume that they're going to play their best football of the season, and we'll prepare accordingly. In terms of expecting Andy to get fired, I don't know that I expected that at all. I know they have a tremendously high expectation of that place, and if things don't go exactly the way they want, then they're going to be pretty short-tempered in that sense. And so that I don't know that surprises me anymore at any place. But I wasn't expecting necessarily that move to be made, nor did I expect it to happen when it did. But I haven't spent a lot of time, honestly, worried about it.
Hey, Coach Al Lewis from KVNU. Does anybody want to win this conference this year? I mean, it looks like
we do.
I mean, yeah, I know you've had, the Fresno State game. If that goes the way you hoped it would, you're still playing for, like with everybody else, to try to be one of the teams in this championship, and they're now back into it. Boise State too.
Yeah, no doubt. I think that just tells you how good this league is. We assume things, but what we've all said from the beginning is you better be ready every Saturday. There's not a bad team in our league. I mean, I know you're looking at Nevada and New Mexico ranked at the bottom, but at any given point, Hawaii beats anybody in this league. If you put the pieces together and you play without mistakes, there is capable football being coached and played on every sideline. And you're right. We get one more play, one more tip ball, one more tackle, one more catch here or there, and we're close. We're not as far away as people might think, but but it's hard to get there because every week you go out, you're playing really good opponents, and everybody's built well and competes at a high level and is coached well. So, yeah, I don't know who's going to get it. I don't know how it's going to turn out. We'd love to be in that mix. We're not there yet, but it is encouraging to see, a team like San Jose, who we didn't play well against, go out and turn right back around and play as well as they did against Fresno. It's encouraging to see, where we can eliminate some mistakes and be right back in the conversation every week.
Coach Anderson, Jason Turner from the Herald-Journal. I just wanted to ask you about two of your best skill guys, Rashul Faison and Jalen Royals. I mean, these were guys that it just seems like they were maybe underutilized in junior college. Didn't really put up gaudy statistics, but why do you feel maybe they were underutilized, and how much pride do you take in developing and finding diamonds in the rough?
Well, we take a tremendous amount of pride in developing guys that are kind of unheard of or people didn't see. We always talk about finding value where other people don't, looking for traits and not stats, looking for guys that have the traits that we feel like we can develop inside of our systems, both offense and defense. And I think those are two guys that fit that mold. I think Terrell Vaughn is a guy that fits that mold. Micah Davis, even to some degree, didn't have a ton of catches and touches before we got him, but just we saw traits in both Faison and Jalen, and even those other guys I mentioned. Felt like that if we would coach them and really they would work and fit within our system, that they could be explosive and be really, really good players, and they are. They get a lot of credit. They both work extremely hard. Faison is learning quickly because he missed so much. And you got to give Jalen a ton of credit. He didn't catch a ball last year. He was patient, went into the offseason and killed it. Had a great spring and summer. I think quickly everybody's eyes were open in spring ball when he started making play after play after play. And now he's one of the best in the country. And yeah, I think Coach Cefalos done a great job. I think we did a good job identifying him and finding him, which is hard to do. And both those guys just continue to work to get better. I don't know why their roles were limited where they were. Could be depth, could be the system, could be all the above. But if our guys just continue to kind of turn over every rock and really watch the tape and evaluate it for the skill set, not the stats, hopefully we'll keep being able to find guys like those two in the future and build that way. Because if they had tons of stats, maybe we wouldn't have been able to get them at all. I don't know. I mean, it worked out perfectly for us, and I'm glad they're on our rosters.
Coach, Jason Walker with Cache Valley Daily. Just want to ask about the amount of times the quarterback has been pressured the last couple of weeks. Seems like it's dropped a lot compared to previous weeks. This made me feel like a dumb question, but how much does that change things, not having the quarterback getting pressured as much?
Oh, it's huge. I mean, our ability to cover people up, when you look at the skill that we have out in space, and really, I'm not just talking about the wideouts. I think Brock has added another dimension to the offense. He's not getting it a ton, but he's shown his ability to be explosive and efficient. When we can cover people up, then I think we can be as explosive as anybody in the country. We've shown that at times. When we struggle up front, I mean, it makes it really, really difficult. That's asking a lot of any quarterback. I feel like that we lose sight of how beat up and inexperienced our offensive line is, and just how good the fronts are that we play. It is a challenge. That is a lot to ask of those guys. I'm proud of what they're doing. It's not perfect. We're going to be much better a year from now. There's really not a senior playing significant amount of snaps. The only two seniors we have are both playing in very limited roles. You've got 3 or 4 guys up front playing their first Division I snaps at any given point, starting their first games. And so this is a work in progress. I'm looking forward to where they go, but it's been a lot for them with the defensive fronts we've played all year. And when they've handled it, we've been really good on offense. When they've struggled, we've struggled. But you got to give them a ton of credit. Coach Bassett and that group have battled their tails off through a lot to get us to a point where we are offensively and able to produce even when things don't look great. Hopefully we can cover these guys up this week. It's going to be a critical part of the game. The ability to stay ahead of the chains, cover them up, protect where we need to, run the ball when we need to. We struggled with all that last year and the year before with these guys, and it's going to be a key matchup for this game to be successful for us.
Hey, Coach Eric
Just
Franson, 106.9 The Fan, and you've gone through going back and forth between which quarterback you want to use. Boise State has similarly had that battle going on with their roster, but their two quarterbacks seem a little different in when they approach the game. How do you prepare as an opposing coach for who may or may not be under center for Boise?
Yeah, definitely. What they run definitely is different with Green than it is with Maddox. Both have played extremely well at times. I think they've seen inexperience or maybe frustration at times, or they wouldn't be making the rotation the way they are. I don't think you can get too far outside your comfort zone. Both can pull the ball down and run. Obviously, Maddox tends to be more of a pocket guy, and Green is maybe one of the most dynamic runners that we've seen in a long, long, long time. And so you've got to have that aspect defensively in check, or try to. Even when you got a guy for him, he's able to outrun him or outmaneuver him a lot of the times anyway. We saw how badly he could hurt you last year at the end of the game with a huge one. So it's a challenge for Joe. I know Maddox went down right before the half. Not sure how healthy he will be. It did not look good. I was watching the game, and I know he struggled to get off the field on his own. So he may or may not be healthy anyway. I would anticipate we've got to prepare for Green and kind of rally if Maddox is playing and then do our best. But it's going to come down to how we handle ourselves up front on both sides. Similar conversation that we just had with the O-line. Same thing for the D-line. This thing starts with their ability to run the ball, and then they throw the ball explosively off with a run game. If you don't stop the run, they're just going to keep running it all day long, and they are built extremely well at quarterback, running back, and the O-line to do that. So I think that's probably a bigger conversation than which quarterback plays.
Coach, I wanted to follow up on the offensive line, because you mentioned in last week's Monday press conference that Nevada would present similar challenges to what you faced in terms of your offensive line versus their defensive line. But obviously in this game, those issues weren't there as much. I guess you performed better. Was it just down to execution, or was there something you were able to do different to not have those problems show up as much as in previous weeks?
Well, number one, I think just the physical matchups were a little bit more in our favor than they have been in previous weeks. The movement that you get from San Jose and San Diego State and Colorado State and JMU and some of these fronts, you're talking about, really, really dynamically built fronts that move, and that's been a problem. We matched up better against Nevada. At times, we still got exposed with some of their movements and how they played us, but we were a little bit healthier, not completely. Schematically, I thought we just tried our best to play to our strengths, and we did that within the game plan. But physically matched up better against the bodies that we were blocking than we had in previous weeks, and it showed out on the field. So I think it's a little of everything: the scheme, the way we played, mechanically, technically how we played, but then also the matchups within the scheme just fit us a little bit better.
Coach Anderson, Jason Turner again. I just wanted to ask you about Genty. Who knows if you're going to face him or not? He hasn't played the last couple of weeks, but you've been around, you've been coaching a long time. Where would you put him among some of the better running backs that you've seen? And how good is their offensive line? It seems like they've been a really good unit this season.
Yeah, I think it's been the strength. The offensive line, the run game is what sets everything off. They're able to create explosive throws in the back end because you've got to add bodies to the box to slow down the run game. I don't know if anybody stopped it consistently. Genty is as advertised, as good as I've seen, but he's not it. This week they put two other guys out there, and I don't want to butcher the last names of those two guys, but both of them went out and ran the ball just as effectively and powerfully as we've seen Genty. So whether he plays or not, obviously he is dynamic and can play for anybody in the country. He clearly brings something to the table, but without him, they're still just as efficient and powerful and effective. And then you add Green's legs to it, and he can hurt you any play. I mean, it's a big challenge. There's no doubt. Every aspect, with or without him, with or without a wide out here or there, with or without Maddox playing or not. these guys have the ability to create all sorts of problems, and we're going to need to play our best football. We got to play our best football to win the game, and I think everybody's pretty aware of that in our building. They know just how big of a challenge this is, and stopping their run game is where it starts for our defense, and then defending the explosive throw. Comes out of my mouth a lot easier than it is to do.
Hey, Coach Al Lewis again. You've already mentioned that you have the feeling. You've already counted 7 consecutive losses to Boise State. We've been here a long time watching this whole deal. Last year's game had to be so frustrating because you were right there to get it done. Can you kind of go back a little bit of that? You've already mentioned Green's run at the end of the game, but I mean, there's some guys that are still on your team who probably remember that and remember how big this game is and all that to get it done.
No, they absolutely know how big the game is for a million different reasons. The rivalry, what it means to get to 6 and secure a bowl, just the ability to just keep moving forward to senior night. All that stuff matters, but yeah, there's still a handful of guys that are on that trip. We had an opportunity to win it, and we let it get away. We squandered some opportunities throughout the game. You can't do that. You got to take advantage when you get a guy in a position to put him down, and you got to be able to do it, and we weren't. Give them credit. They made the plays they need to. They kept us out of the end zone late. They created explosive plays where they needed to. They really forced us to kick a couple times where we were in short yardage and couldn't get it across the end zone, across the line. We missed a great opportunity to get points and had to settle for field goals. You name it. We gave up explosive throws. But at the end of the day, you got down the last 2 minutes and we were in the mix and we had a chance to win it. And we didn't. We're going to have to hope and pray that we can play our best and be in a similar situation this year and be good enough to finish it. It's not one of those games where you blow somebody out. This is going to be a 60-minute battle, physical, hit people in the mouth, get hit in the mouth kind of battle. And it's going to come down to that moment where we have a chance to win it. And are we mature enough, physical enough? Can we execute well enough to get it done? That one last year, that one's really, really hard to swallow because you got right there and didn't get it done. Same as the Fresno game this year. Same as the JMU game this year. Right there in the mix at the moment. They made the plays. We didn't. We're hoping to overcome that and get that done this week. And there'd be no better time to do it than Saturday.
Coach Anderson, I just wanted to ask you that their defense, they've had some struggles this year, more than I can remember. And honestly, ever since I've covered Utah State football. So what have you seen differently from this defense than the previous couple that you've seen?
Well, I think they played some really good folks. Number one, the better opponents you play, the tougher it is to defend them. They obviously clearly lost some guys to the NFL and have gone through some injuries, but I don't know. When I watch them, I see a very, very physical, very dynamic group of dudes. And so, I don't know. I think stats lie to you a little bit. I think if you look at stats, they're a little deceiving at times. I think you look at the people and really look at how sound they are and how physically they play in space, how well they tackle in space, how much problems they present up front. The fact that they are long and can play man coverage. I don't look at the stats very much. I think they're much better than their stats indicate.
Hey, Coach Eric Franson, one more time.
Go ahead.
Looks like Spencer Danielson, he's their defensive coordinator, will be the interim coach. Do you have much interaction with him? What do you know of him?
No, nothing. I mean, he's well thought of in the industry in terms of what he does and how well he prepares. I have not been around him at all. I know Bush Hamden on the offensive side of the ball, but I have not met the defense coordinator. Obviously, he'll have more on his plate this week, but where they're at in the program and how things are organized, I don't see much changing this week. Guys are prepared. Systems are in place. Schedule will probably stay relatively the same. I wouldn't think what's happened with Andy to have really much of an impact at all. This is going to be, 11 guys playing each other in the middle of the field, and the matchups and the skill set on the field is going to have a much bigger impact on this game than whether or not, Avalos is there or not, or if the defense coordinator has to call a timeout here or there. He's more than capable of doing the job. And, we gotta expect him to play their very best football.